I'm Adina Wancha, and I guide high-achieving men and women create extraordinary lives and loving, ecstatic relationships. The intention of this podcast is to empower both men and women when it comes to life, dating, relationships, and intimacy. I believe that by both men and women being healthy, powerful, and loving, we can be in thriving partnerships and we can create a better world together. If this is something you resonate with, then please keep listening. Is there something in your past which, when you think about, you say to yourself, "Oh my God, what was I thinking? How could I do that? That was so stupid of me to do. I regret doing that thing." Maybe there is something in your past which you are ashamed of having done, and you still beat yourself up for it and you cannot find peace about it. Maybe you are even spending hours thinking that about that experience and you are saying bad words to yourself, blaming yourself for having done that thing. From my perspective, there are two categories of actions we can do and then be ashamed of and regret doing. The number one category, it's behaviors through which we hurt mostly ourselves, such as hurting ourselves physically, being in abusive relationships, having been controlled by various addictions, and behaving in harmful ways towards ourselves as a result. In short, any behavior through which you've inflicted physical or emotional harm onto ourselves. And the second category is represented by behaviors through which we hurt mostly other people, such as lying, manipulating, stealing, cheating, hitting, and even raping and killing. Most of these behaviors are not only immoral, but they're also illegal. And society punishes us for these behaviors, while for the self harmful ones, we mostly punish ourselves. Most of you listening to this episode will either fall in the first category and the harm was more inflicted towards yourselves, or you are people who have done some immoral actions towards others, such as lying, manipulating, cheating, or something similar. I think that many people have something in their past that they haven't made peace with yet, and they feel ashamed and sorry about. And if that is you, then I want you to know that feeling ashamed and sorry of something you did shows that you have a consciousness and that you are aware that that action or behavior wasn't good for you or for the other people involved. So take a moment to acknowledge that even though you might have done something stupid or bad, at your core, you have a good heart. Because the people who don't regret the mistakes they've made are called narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths. And these people have no remorse. And you are not one of them. You are just a human being who, at that time, didn't know better and made a decision from a place of fear, anger, lust, shame, hate, or any other unpleasant emotion. I have also done things I am not proud of. And looking back, I can see that I acted from an addiction and from a place of unfulfilled need. It's not as if I was asking myself, is this action aligned with my values and who I want to be? Will this action improve my life or make it worse? Is this something I will be proud of? In a nutshell, I wasn't thinking, I was reacting. I wasn't taking the time to discern and make a conscious decision. I was reacting from a place of trauma and unfulfilled need. As humans, we all have two parts. The instinctual part, whose job is to keep us alive, and the spiritual part, whose job is to help us evolve and become the best version of ourselves. We are all capable of the most despicable things because we all have a part of us that just wants to survive. Life is not necessarily easy on this planet, and there is a part of us whose main objective is to keep us alive, and we'll do anything for that. And when I say anything, I mean anything. And there's also the spirit part of us that is our divine nature, who knows how to tell apart good from bad, behaves in a civilized manner, is loving towards ourselves and towards others, wants the best for everybody and for the planet. But we don't always operate from our enlightened self. We sometimes operate from our survival instincts and mechanism. Whatever you have done in your past and you now regret, I am going to share with you 4 powerful steps you can take to find forgiveness for yourself. Please know that these 4 steps can be used to also forgive someone who did wrong to you. However, in this episode, I am going to focus on self-forgiveness. Step number 1, responsibility. The first step is taking responsibility for that action. So, by you becoming aware of how you are feeling and thinking now towards that past action, you are starting to acknowledge first that you did that thing, and second, that that thing wasn't good. So, by you becoming accountable for that action to yourself, you are completing the first step towards forgiving yourself. Step number 2, remorse. Remorse is a deep regret or guilt for a wrong committed. Are you truly sorry for doing that thing? And if you are, then you are connected to your spirit part. Only from that place you can change your life and do better. Remorse doesn't feel good in our bodies because it comes with guilt and shame. Shame in itself is not bad. One of my mentors said that shame is the distance from what you did and who you are. I'm going to repeat this because I really want you to hear it. Shame is the distance between what you did and who you are. Because again, we don't always take the best actions, as our spirit part is not always the one who makes the decisions. Sometimes our survival instincts make the decisions and take the actions. So we do stupid or hurtful things to ourselves or to other people. Guilt shows us that we have consciousness. Feeling guilty is not something bad in itself. It just shows that you made a mistake. Shame and guilt related to that past action will dissipate when you do step number 3, which is do not repeat. Would you ever do that thing again? This is where the challenge is. As long as you are willing to do that thing again, it will be very hard for you to forgive yourself. If you don't say to yourself, I'm not going to do that thing ever again, it will be very hard for you to change that behavior. And if you don't change that behavior, it will be very hard to forgive yourself. And yes, there is an exception, which is if you are in a real life or death situation. But it has to be a real thing, not what your brain perceives as a life threatening situation. Because our survival instincts are so powerful, we perceive as life threatening situations things like having a conflict with someone, losing a job, losing someone we love, losing a house, losing large amounts of money, someone telling us a bad word, or looking at us in a certain way. Our survival instincts are like fire alarm that goes off even from cigarette smoke. Although that smoke is not a real threat, the alarm will go off because that is its job. The alarm doesn't know that if someone smokes in a room, it doesn't mean that the whole house will burn down. Similarly, our survival instincts don't know that when someone criticizes or rejects us, we won't die. But it does its job, which is it signals us the threat. It's then our job to bring in discernment and decide if we are indeed in a life or death situation, or we are in something that we perceive as dangerous, but we are not going to die from it. And to give you an example of what a life or death situation is, we all know that cannibalism is something immoral and illegal. However, I was watching an interview with a plane crash survivor who, along with other people, had to eat the people who had died in the crash if they wanted to survive. The survivors spent almost 72 days on a peak of a mountain without any supplies. If they hadn't eaten the other passengers, they would they would have also died. And this is what I mean when I say life or death situation. And if you're curious about this story, they made a movie based on this real event, which is called Society of Snow. And step number 4, repair. Have you started doing something that will repair the situation? How are you doing things differently? You know that you're truly ready to forgive yourself when you are doing things differently. If you started changing that behavior, then you are on the right track. This doesn't mean that you will never make a mistake again or you won't have a tendency to repeat a certain mistake. Because the process of evolution is complex, it's not black or white, it's more grayish. However, if your spirit part is the one who is more in control of your actions and behaviors, then you are winning. If that old behavior is no longer present in your life, then stop beating yourself up for something you've done in the past. Changing a behavior means changing yourself. You are no longer doing that thing which you used to do. And this means that you are now a new person. And this new and better version of yourself can forgive the past version of yourself that was in a survival mode and was behaving erratically. So let's take a real life example. I'm inviting you now to think about something in your past which you are ashamed of or you feel very bad about having done. And bring that situation into your mind and answer the following questions. Have you taken responsibility for that action? Meaning, have you become aware that that action wasn't good either for you or for someone else? Are you truly sorry for taking that action? Would you do that thing again? Are you taking different actions now? How have you changed? If you are no longer doing that harmful action and you've changed your behavior, you are ready to forgive yourself. Continuing to blame yourself or beat yourself up is not helpful anymore. This doesn't mean that you'll forget about that thing. It just means that you can now make peace with it. Your past actions reflect how much you knew about life, about yourself, and about other people at that moment. However, this doesn't mean that you are the same person. The purpose of life is not perfection, it's evolution. And life wants us to get better. It doesn't expect us not to make mistakes, but it does want us to learn from them. We forgive ourselves when our spirit part takes the wheel and starts driving our life most of the time. Remember, there are always two parts in every human being, the survival part and the spirit part. By focusing on the conscious evolution, the spirit part can be more in control, but the instinctual part will always be there as long as we have a body. We can strive for better, however, mistakes are a part of life. And when we make them, we can forgive ourselves by taking responsibility, being truly sorry, not doing that thing again, and changing our behavior. And if the thing you've done hurt another person, you can contact that person and tell them how much you regret hurting them and how you've changed for the good. I remember watching this TED talk with a man and a woman, and the man had raped the woman, and now they were talking about that event and what both of them learned from it. Now, don't think that because you regret harming someone, that person will forgive you. Because in many cases, that person may not be ready for that, and you cannot make anyone forgive you. However, what you can do is express your genuine remorse and behave differently. And if that person is no longer alive, there is a way you can ask for their forgiveness. I guided once a process with a woman who had had an abortion and she was very sorry about it. However, after that session, she was able to forgive herself and find peace. Because before having a body, we are all souls, and a soul can never die. On soul level, you can communicate with people who are no longer in physical form. And I am mentioning this for the people who are listening to this and who wish they could say, I am sorry to someone who is no longer in a physical form. Finding peace and acceptance for our past creates the foundation for a calm and safe present from which we can create a better future. It's very hard to build a better life when you're still fighting the ghosts of the past. Use the 4 steps I shared with you: taking responsibility, having remorse, do not repeat, and repair to forgive yourself. Give yourself the biggest gift you can: inner peace and self love. Life is short. I don't think you want to spend it thinking about things you can no longer change. Instead, focus on what you can change. And if you're committed to creating your dream life or your dream relationship, I'm inviting you in my one-to-one coaching container where we will work together on you getting clear on your needs and desires when it comes to a long-term relationship, healing your past wounds so you attract a healthy person, dating from a place of empowerment instead of neediness, mastering your sexuality, getting the skills you need to create a happy and fulfilling long term relationship. And if you're not ready for this commitment, you can do the embodiment practices I created to help you feel more peaceful, confident, and joyful. You can download them for free from my website. The package for women is called Magnetic Woman, and the package for men is called Confident Man. And you can find the links in the description box below. Thank you for listening to this episode, and if you found it helpful, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're listening on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. It helps me a lot with the algorithm. I appreciate your time and energy, and I hope to meet you again in my next episode. Until then, keep evolving, loving, and creating. Bye.